afterwards, or if you go to the Learning Commons website, there should be a link to the recording there. So that's where it's going to be. Takes exam 1. Where is it? Okay. Okay. Before we start, does anyone have any questions that they have or anything in specific that you want to go over before we begin? Well, this is a huge group. Anyone? If you do have any questions, please feel free to like use the chat. We're gonna have you monitoring the chat, or are we doing practice problems? Yeah, we actually have 2 past exams that Lord had. So we'll be doing those 2 exams. But like I said, if anyone here has any other problems in specific, exam 1 practice A2. I will question 2. Right, what was that? Exam 1 question 2. Is that the one with the array diagonal equals row? Not mistaken, Kevin? Project 1, not sure that's too off topic. Right method. We're not going to be doing project talk in here. We're just going to be doing exam prep. I believe so. Exam, I believe it's not. I believe it's fill in. It's not. It's not. It's like pre-response.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. For the exam format, just to be clear, there will be 4 questions in your test, and then the test is not multiple choice. Okay. And then the practice questions, the exam format will be very, very similar to the practice questions. And yeah, so this is for the exam format. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. So let's get started. No mind. Okay. So those Lord's exams. Let's share it. Okay. All right. So can everyone here see my screen? Yes. 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 Sounds good. I will have you guys a little chat box in the top right hand corner here. Sounds good. So just for anyone here, this is basically how his exams are going to be formatted. So yeah. So for a little,
Oh shit.
what's that? All right. You have to have participants as well. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat. We're gonna have the chat open as well. Or if you want like to speak, because I know some questions are hard to like type out, you are free to raise your hand and yep. So okay, so let's start. Does anyone have any question? I think someone brought up this one, right? Question 2. I believe it was Kevin that brought this one up. So if you guys want, we could do this. Okay. We'll do this one first. And if anyone has any other questions that they have, they want to do specifically, feel free to put them in the chat. Right now, we basically have this one. This is the first exam practice we're doing, and this is the second one. So if you have questions that are outside of these practice exams, if you want, you can share the PDF and we'll take a look. So let's do this. Write a Boolean method that will return true if the sum of the diagonal upper left to lower right of a 2-dimension array is equal to the sum of a given row. Okay, so this is the function title line. Can you go over this question? This one, right? What's that? Okay. Envelope. Sure, we'll include that. We'll do that in a bit. All right. Yep. Like if you have any questions else, any other questions you want, feel free to include screenshots as well. But anyways, so if the array is not a square matrix, or if the row number is out of bounds, throw an illegal argument exception with an appropriate message. Okay. So, for example, we have this array, and we see that this row is equal to the sum of the diagonals. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Sir Lord. I believe there is a 212 server. Mike, if you can share the link to that later on. So we see here array 1, this first row, the sum of the elements, right, is equal to the sum of the diagonal. So diagonal here is going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, right? And then similarly, let's look at array 2. We see that 1, 2, 3, 4. It matches 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Same thing for array 4. Right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Array 3, however, it doesn't match because this isn't a perfect square. Okay. Diagonal. So when writing methods, will we have points taken off? We don't include the when it's like entire code, like for here, for the method, I'm assuming you don't really need any extra libraries for like this question in specific, but like if we take a look at this example right here, right? Like here they're asking us how to use JOptionPane, JOption, etc. You have to include the library for that. I think it's Java Swing, if I'm not mistaken, but yeah. If it's like the entire code and you need to like write full main included, then you need to include the libraries. Okay. Sounds good, sounds good. So let's start this. Okay. So let's start. He already gave the function title line. So remember, this is going to return a Boolean diagonal equals row. And we got 2 parameters, the 2D array, my array, and the row we're on. Okay. Okay. So first, what do we check? We have to check let's first check if the array is not a square matrix of the row number or the row number is out of bounds, throw an illegal argument exception. So we have to do 2 checks. Okay. Check 1. We have to see if my array is a square matrix. So let's do this. If my array dot length is not equal to my array, let's use a 0 dot length, then what do we want? We want to throw new illegal argument exception. What do we want to say? Not a square matrix, something like that. Okay. Let me. Okay, this looks good. And then ignore the lines here. We want, do you need quotations around? Yes, I do. Sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. That's a nice segue into this little thing. We will, if we do make mistakes, me and Mike, feel free to point them out. Does it work if you replace 0 with the variable row since that parameter being passed? Well, okay, for Kevin, the issue with that is that we're assuming if you use that, we're assuming that row is always going to be within like my array. But what if like row is out of bounds, right? So you can do it 2 ways. You can either do it like this. The reason why I'm using 0 is because 0 is always going to be in the array. Otherwise, like, because if you were to use row here instead of 0, row, then what if row is out of bounds, right? Because then this is gonna throw give an error, because it's saying, okay, if it's, say we use myArray2 and it's length 4, well, that's 0, 1, 2. Let me write it down here. 0, 1, 2, 3, right? If let's say row is 5, this shouldn't work. So if we did myArray row, this would be myArray 5. Do you need come? Sure. Right, then 5 is out of bounds here, so that would work. Right, so let's add a comment for, right. So that's going to be, all right, does that make sense? Good, thank you. Checks if matrix is square. It's basically if the number of rows equals the number of columns. Okay. And then if it isn't, we'll throw a new.
Is this a
What was that? Oops, sorry. Never mind. Okay. Does this make sense for everyone? Why we're doing this? This is the first check. Okay. And then the second check is if the row number is out of bounds. Yep. There you go. If row is greater than, well, let's not just, oh, let's do that first. MyArray.length, right? Throw new illegal argument exception is row out of bounds. All right, so that looks good, but let me ask you a question about that. Let's say we use myArray2. We know the length of this. You know the length of this is 4. Right? However, if I passed in 4 as the row parameter, would this work for array 2? Would 4 work as an array? No, right? Because it only goes up to check calling. Yeah, it only goes up to 3 because it's 0, 1, 2, 3. So if we pass in 4, it won't work. So that's why a little fix to this is if row is greater than or equal to myArray.length. Okay. This is checks if row is out of bounds. Okay. You said that. There you go. Right. If you don't want to use the less greater than or equal to, you could just do greater than myArray.length minus 1, but it depends on how up to you. So easiest one is like just greater than or equal to. Okay. Does this make sense? All right. So these are did this. So now that after we passed this line, we know that this is not only is it a correct array, we can also know that the row is within the correct bound. So now let's find the sums. So let's do this. Let's have 2 variables. For these problems, there are different ways you can do them. So the way I'm doing it isn't like the only way, but this is how I would do it personally, or how most would do it. So let's have 2 variables. Let's say row sum, and let's set that equal to 0. And then diagonal sum, set that also equals 0. Okay? And then we're going to loop. For int I is equal to, let me add a space here. So I think for comments, declare some variables for row and diagonal. Okay. So let's start at 0. I is 0. I is less than. Sure, let's do less than since we know, let me erase it 1 sec. Since we know that row is now a correct value, let's do my array row dot length I plus plus. Are you supposed to comment on an exam? No, this isn't. You're not supposed. You don't need to comment in the exam. I think the only reason I'm commenting is because I think someone in the chat requested that I put like little comments explaining each line. But you don't put comments on the exam. It's not. You don't need to. Okay. So now, all right. So let's do this numbering. Would it be wrong if we put my array dot length? No, that's perfectly fine as well because we know that they're equal length. So yeah, if you want, you could either use my array row, you could just do my array dot length. That would be perfectly fine. Okay, so that works too. Because we know that if they weren't equal of equal length, it wouldn't be a square matrix, and we would throw an argument, throw an exception anyways. So yeah, that also works. Okay, so let's do a little bit of drawing here. So 0, 0 is going to be this. Let's say we have, oops, let's use this one. This is going to be the first element, right? So it's going to be, the row sum is going to include 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, right? So in order to do that, we would include a specific row. No, then my array length wouldn't work. Well, here, my array length, my array dot low, this is just to give us like how big the loop is going to be. And the reason why either one works is because once we pass this statement, we know that, oops, sorry, I've changed it to 0. Once we pass this statement, we know that it is a square matrix. So if you look here, like here, this is 4 by 4. So depending, either one could be used in order to find. No, as for this, right? So you can do my array row dot length, you could do my array dot length because they're equal. Right? No problem, no problem. All right. So like I said, we just want to, we have the row sum. So let's update row sum. So row sum plus equals, we're going to add on my array. Give me a little space here. My array. This is going to be row I, right? And this is basically the same thing as row sum equals row sum plus my array row I. Okay. So it's going one by one and adding each of these to the row sum variable that we have. All right. But we also need to include one for diagonal sum. Okay. And then for that, we have, let's look at it here. This is going to be 0, 0. Let me write it down here. This is 0, 0. 2 is going to be 1, 1. 3 is 2, 2. 4 is 3, 3. Right? So how do we do that? Well, we already have a variable that goes from 1 to 3, right? So this goes from 0, 1, 2, and 3. Why not? Let's use that variable. Okay. So let's do something similar here. And then we do diagonal sum plus equals my array I. Okay, and what does this do? This says diagonal sum is equal to diagonal sum plus my array I. Does anyone have any questions about these portions? Especially this one. Does anyone have any questions about how we add up the diagonals? Everyone good with that? Okay. The reason why here is because we're looking at a specific row, so that's why row stays the same in I increments. But for diagonal, we want to go diagonally, so we increment both row and column. So that's 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Okay. Right, and then we're pretty much done, because what do? What does it say? We had to return true if the sum of the diagonal of a two-dimensional array is equal to the sum of a given row. So what is that? Let's just return row sum equals diagonal sum. You're done. So this one, let me just try to comment here. Does anyone have any questions about this portion right here? Why we're just returning this? So basically, because if returns true if equal, false otherwise. Right? So like this is the same thing as saying, let me type it out here. This is the same thing as saying we'll return true or false because yes, because we hear equals is a Boolean operation, right? So writing this will basically check, is this equal to this? And if it is, then this entire statement is true. This is kind of saying, right, if row sum equals diagonal sum, return true, else return false, right? This is the same thing as this, but the reason being that we only include this is because, see here, I have a highlighter. I have a highlighter. Holy shit, that changes everything. See here how here, this is going to be row sum equals diagonal sum. That itself, if this is true, then it'll return true. So we just need to return this. It doesn't make sense to like add extra code. But yeah, so that's your code pretty much. Does anyone have any questions about this code?
I had a question.
What's up?
The first if statement, the myArray.length, is that checking like the whole 2D array? Like the length of that?
No. So if you remember from 111, I'll answer the questions in chat later on, but let me just, if you remember from 111, a 2D array is basically an array. Let me write this out. A 2D array is an array of arrays. So this is array 1, this is array 2, array 3, array 4. Right? So this is technically an array of the whole code line by line. Fine. This is an array of arrays. Right? So that's why. No, but in general, so like in the reason why we're using myArray.length, this isn't like returning 16. Like if this was the number of rows and the number of columns, that's no. The reason why it's returning 4 is because it's an array of like arrays. So these are individual objects, right? So it's going to return the number of arrays we have. Does that make sense, Tanjila?
Yeah.
Whereas for myArray 0, this looks at the first array, like this array, and looks at the number of objects that are in that first array. Okay, so that's the difference. There's other questions. You can also use nested loops to solve this problem. You could use nested loops. If your heart really desires nested loops, by all means, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But yeah, I feel like nested loops would be a bit of an overkill for this problem. But yeah, feel free if you could. What is the difference between dot equals and equals equals? Okay, for that. So dot equals is only used for strings. Right? So see how like there's a like, who answered that question, Jaden? Dot equals is a method for strings. So if I want to check if string ABC is equal to string, let's say ABD, right? You can't do this. This doesn't work for strings, which is why we have to use dot equals. So we do, let's label string x is equal to, say, ABC. Then we, if you want to check if they're equal, we would do x dot equals ABD. Like this. That's the dot equals method is reserved for arrays. Here, because we're comparing an integer with an integer, we could use dot equal method here. Okay. Why don't we write public on top? All right. Well, I think, let me go question by question. Why is 0 considered illegal? What do you mean by 0 considered illegal? Where is illegal? Third input. This one? And where? Or here? Oh, the third call function here? This line? Well, if you look at my array 3, is my array 3 a square matrix? Is this a square? No. So that means you can't, that would break here, right? Because the first one of the things that you have to check is if the array is on a square matrix or at the number out of bounds, then we throw an illegal argument exception. So because this isn't a square matrix, we wouldn't be able to use this method on it. Yep. That's why we had this first check right here. This basically checks if the number of rows, this, is equal to the number of columns, then it's a square matrix. Otherwise, we can't do it because the diagonal here would be 1, 8, and that wouldn't make sense to add. You can't compare this. I mean, we could, but like, wouldn't. No, don't use micro.ai. But yeah, does that make sense, Oliver? Mm-hmm. The video, I think Mike. Yeah, we'll have the recording. Either you could find it in the Learning Commons website. I think Mike, you could share a link later, or we will. I think they'll email it to you as well. There was a bunch of other questions. Let me go back.
Okay. Nice.
So I answered that. Public. Why don't we write public on top? That's a great question. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. We need public. They got it confused with C++, but yeah, this is public. You will bring that out. Public static Boolean. I don't think you'll need this. You don't need the static. I mean, you could, it doesn't hurt, but static is something else, but public Boolean works as well. We don't use public in C++. I have no idea. It's been a hot minute since they did C++, so I think we do. What if you use the if statement to return true at the end instead of what you use? So right here, this would also work. This is the same thing as this. This is the same thing as this. But it saves you a couple lines of code. So they both work. Okay, so I think somewhere in the chat, someone asked if I could go through this line by line. Sure. For that person, whoever you are, this is for you. So we have the public static. This is the what's it called? Title line. He gives us this, right? This is given here. So listen, it's less about the title line as long as we have the public static Boolean because it's returning a Boolean. So don't forget the Boolean. That's important. That's a good reminder if you missed that. Okay. Oh no, what happened? Anyways, so this first check right here, we first must check if the array is square. How do we do that? Well, we compare if the number of columns, which, no, don't, what's wrong with you, Microsoft? Fine. First, we check if the number of columns, but is equal to the number of rows, right? So how do we check the number of columns? Let's take my array 0. So this is the first row, and we take its length. That'll give us a number of columns, okay? And we compare that to the number of rows, which is just my array.length. So my array.length gives this. My array 0.length gives this, okay? And if they're not equal, that means we don't have a square matrix. We have something like this. So we can't use this diagonal method on it. So we throw a new illegal argument exception, not a square matrix, okay? And then our next check is if the row number we're on, the row number we input, right? Like say here, we have 6, right? If you look at array 1 has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no row 6 here. Where's no 6? So that's bad, not good. Hence, we throw an exception, row out of bounds, or like illegal row length method, where, oh, for arrays, you don't need the parentheses. Okay. So I think you guys are getting confused. You only use like the parentheses if it's like a method. So if you wanted to check the length of a string, then you would do dot length like this. Right? But if for the length of an array, you don't need the parentheses. Dot length is fine. Okay? Does that make sense? So for array length, you don't need the parentheses. For string length, you do. This is for string. Oops, we have 111 students in here. Anyways, not trying to bother about that. Anyways, oops. Okay. Anyways. So that is what this row does right here. If this row number is out of bounds, which is, it means it's not here. That means we throw an exception, row out of bounds. Okay. And once we pass these two if statements, that means we're good to go. So now it's up to us complete and being the sum. So we declare two variables, the row sum and diagonal sum, right? And then we loop. So this is a for loop, and we loop through. So let's use this example. We loop through the row we're on, as well as the diagonal. Okay. And when we do that, we always want to add them to the current row sum and diagonal sum, right? And then at the very end, we will just return this, which basically is an expanded version of this, meaning if they're equal, we return true. Otherwise, they're not equal, we return false. Okay. So yes, does anyone have any other questions about this question in specific? Any other questions? This one wasn't that bad. All good?
No, it's good, but can we go over something like question 4, the one that he's like about the response? What's gonna like what's gonna be the output for the response? Yeah.
This one, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Sounds good. Question 3 on exam. Is this exam B? Not sure. This is exam thing. This is it, right?
Yeah, this is exam B.
Sounds good. Okay, we'll do that later then. So let's first do this. What will be printed by this program? Sure, okay. So we have 4 strings, S1, S2, S3, S4, and we have the main method. So first, let's go to the main method. We have S1 is now cat, so let's keep track of it here. S1, S2. Comments in this code, please. Sure. I was drawing you on the side, but comments work fine. Make it red. Okay. So now we know that S1 is equal to cat. Right? And what does this tell us? S2 is a new string dog, so now we know S2 is equal to dog. Okay, let me just make sure you're line correctly. Mike, could you make sure that the chat, everyone is okay? I don't want people freaking out over other stuff. Question 1 for exam B, sure. So we got, what do we got? We got question 3, we got a question 1. Thank you, Mike. No exam, okay. So now we have S3 is gonna be this S3. And once again, for everyone here, you don't need to write comments on the exams, although it does help if you do. So, right. These are all cats, my bad. Dog. Cat. Okay. Animal S1, S2. So this is calling us to a method. Animal. So now let's first write. So this is going to be animal. And what's S1? S1 is cat. Cat. S2 is dog. Okay. So let's go down right here. So now we have this here. So string A1. So let's write this here. For our reference, A1. A1 is equal to, A1 is S1. So S1 is going to be cat. And A2 is equal to S2, because that's what was passed. S2 was dog. Okay. So if A1, see how so before you guys mentioned the difference between the equal and dot equals. So this is where you see it. See how these are strings? That's why we use the dot equals method, because that's separate for strings. So this is going to be A1 equals, yeah, Jaden was the one who brought it up. So the dot equals method is exclusively for strings. So we're seeing, does A1 equal A2? Cat does not equal dog. So system.out print line A1. Otherwise, we print out A2. A2 is dog. So now I'm just gonna write this here. So we print out, let's do the answer in green. Dog. Right? And because it's print line, we go to the next line. Okay. It does not equal, yes. So because these two are not equal, we go to the else and we print out A2, which is dog. Okay, so we have dog so far. All right, so now and because this is a void, we did what we needed to do. Let's go back to the main. And now we want a system.out.println next. Okay. So this is a method, which is going to return a string. Okay. Mixed like swap. I have no idea. We're gonna have to look at the method. I think it's sort of like that. Not sure, but we'll see. So anyways, let's write what we have it here. So here we pass in, mix them with two parameters, S2 and S3. S2 is, for anyone who wants to speak, I think if you want to speak, either raise your hand or say it in the chat, just so don't get confused. So S2 is your dog. S3 is rat. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. Is this study sheet available on Reddit? I have no idea. I think Lord should have made it available to you. Yep, it says so. Okay, we're good. So mix them, dog, rat. All right, so let's go here. And here, let's keep track. So B1 is going to be dog, because that was the first one. So B1 is dog. B2 is rat. Okay, so keeping that in mind. C1. So now we're creating a new string, C1. C1 is now equal to B1. B1 was dog. So that means C1 is dog. Okay. Professor Bedoy's here. Oh, Kevin. Okay. Tell him we said hi too. B1 is dog. So that's string C1. Okay. C1 is now dog. All right, Ivan, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but I think that looks right. So C1 is dog. B1 is now equal to B2. So B1 was dog. But now this becomes rat because B2 is rat. So B1 is equal to B2. B1 is now rat. Right? And now B2 is a new string hat. Okay. So now right after all these, the method animal should be dog instead of dog. Change. I don't think C1 dog rat hat. Yep, looks good. Yeah, I think it is supposed to be all capital. I think either that's just probably a typo, but let's see. So B1 is rat, B2 is hat, C1 is dog. Okay. And here, yep, capitalization matters because that's the string. So either that's a typo or it doesn't matter for Lord, but I would stick with keeping it all capital. So we got, okay, so system.out.println B1. So what's B1? Rat. It's going to print out rat. That is good catch. Dog, rat. Yep, keep it all capital. Right? So it prints out rat. And then B2, it's going to print B2. B2 is hat. Okay. And once again, it prints out C1. C1 is dog. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about these 3 lines right here? Nope. Okay. So now here's the part. System.out.println S2. Will this work or will this give us an error? What do you guys think? Error. Why? Why is it going to give me an error? Not declared. Exactly. There's no S1. No S1, not S2, and mix them. Right? Although we did pass it in here, right? Oh, wait, no, it was declared top. Oh, wait, never mind. I'm sorry. Static. Oh, wait, hold up. This is static. It's right here. Okay. It's static. Yeah, sorry. I forgot. That caught me off guard. This isn't inside the main. If this was inside the main, then these 4 would only be in the main. But here, yeah, I'm sorry. This is defined here because if you look at question 4, this is declared outside of the main. Right? So this is declared. Let me write that here. This is important. This is declared outside of main for entire class. So here, wait, what's S2 is dog. So it will also print out dog. I'm sorry, I apologize, guys and girls. Almost caught me, but yeah, this is important. If this was, oh, someone raised their hand. Tussin, what's up? Whoever raised your hand, who's there? Tussin, that you? Yep, your lab professor is the one that graded exams. Tussin, you have a question? Buddy raised his hand. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving on. Oh, what's your question? Yeah, feel free to unmute if you have a question and you like raise your hand. What happens if it's inside the main? Yeah, if this was inside the main, so there's a difference. Because it's outside the main, that means it's available to everything within the class. Right? So this is declared outside the main for the see how I wrote it for the entire class? That means anything within the class, any methods within the class, all have access to these strings. If this was inside the main, right? If this was inside the main here, say I declare new string, let's say S4, S5, and S6, right? These strings are only available to this class, to this, not class, this method, right? It's kind of like if over here, an animal, if I called something with C1, then it would give me an error because in animal there is no C1. There's only a C1 in the mixin method, right? So if this is inside the main, you wouldn't use static. You would just use string. There is this. Static is because it's outside the main. It's part of the entire class. Does that make sense? So that's why this. Let me delete this comment. That's embarrassing. This would print because let me add a new comment. This is because S2 is a static variable for entire class to access. What do you mean? If it's private, when you make it private, that just means any other class outside of this class can't access it. So if I had a different class, like public class question 5, something like that, right here, then there wouldn't be, I can't do system.out.print line, right? I can't, because see how this is like a private class here? That means I can't access it from outside. So if this is like let's declare something here. I had a private string, let's say A2, no, A4, right? Then I can't use that A4. This will give an error. Error because A4 is private. Okay, that's why it's private. Anyways, what's string A1 with it? Oh, because here, if you see here how when we passed in the method, we did animal, cat, dog, mixed them, dog, rat, and I labeled it here. It's depending on what strings are passed in when you call the method. Okay. So this one would print out dog, and this returns B2. B2 is hat, so this would return hat. And hence this method, not method, this here would be hat. Hat. And then this would then print hat. Someone is confused. Why are you confused? No, not hat dog. Yeah, this is what the answer looks like. How A1 was figured and what does mix them mean? Okay, so A1 here, A1 is given by what we pass in as A1. See here how for animal, S1, S2, we pass in 2 parameters. So S1 lines up with A1. S2 lines up with A2. So whatever S1 is, that's what A1 is. Whatever S2 is, that's what A2 is in the function animal. Okay, does that make sense? And what does mix them mean? Well, mix them is just a function name. Mix them, that's just a function name. B1, B2, same thing. See here how for when we call mix them, there's 2 parameters. Oops. S1 and S3, S2 and S3, right? So since line them up, B1 takes the value of S2, B2 takes the value of S3. So it's the same thing. Does that make sense? No problem, no problem. So does everyone get this question? Yeah, sorry for the confusion here. This one, it would print out because S2 is static for entire class access because it's declared outside the methods inside the class. So S2 should be available. Didn't realize that, but does that make sense for everyone? Everyone good? I have a question. Hopefully, I've never I don't think I've said I never had Lord. I had Lord. The one with the one semester he taught the class, that's when I had it. So this is all kind of new to me. The only reason I teach 212 is because I love Java. Java is great. I was lucky. Anyways, does anyone have any what was the other question? Lord cooled grading? I have no idea. Not sure. Okay. So I believe another ones were here. Okay. So let's do question 1 for everyone good is good with this question, I believe, right? So we can move on. So let's do this. And question 1 on the other exam. This one or this one? This one. Okay. Write a Java application that accepts one string parameter from a JOptionPane input dialog and prints to a JOptionPane message dialog the number of times 2 digits occur in a row. For example, JOptionPane. Okay. Okay, so I feel like Mike, you should do this question. I've never used JOptionPane before. Like I said, Ackler didn't teach us this. We focused more on actual object-oriented programming. But all right, we'll do this one. So I don't think anyone needs this one then. Sure, they're both. Anyways, sure. Let's do JOptionPane. Never used it, so this is gonna be a first time for me. JOptionPane. Okay, so let's do this. In order to use JOptionPane, we need to import java.swing. Okay. So by using this, we now have the ability to use JOptionPane. So now let's do this. Let's do the import. Oh. Yes. So public class question 1. Public static void main string args. Okay. Okay. So because we have, sorry guys. Okay. Does it matter to have? Yes, it does, because here string is a variable type and args just reference, this just makes it so that this is an array. This is an array of arguments. Let me common person. Array of string arguments. All right, so that's why it's similar to, like, let's go back to the question. See here, it's actually, I don't think it matters, but here that's just regular convention. So I wouldn't mess with it, but I don't think it matters if you put square brackets before or after. Anyways, so let's do JOptionPane. Sorry, guys. So it's going to be, let's have a string input equals, I think it's a method, right? JOptionPane.show input, yep. So we got JOptionPane.show input. Where's it, like, input dialog? dialogue. The string args. Yeah, they should be equivalent. But just for safety and just so that you don't lose 2 points and blame it on me, I would keep it like this. Don't mess with it. Okay, so we got input dialogue. So we're gonna have also for anyone who's leaving early, please fill out. Mike, could you send the just in case anyone who has to leave early? The feedback form. Thank you. Tassin, you have your hand raised. What is your question, buddy?
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, no problem. So enter a string. Like I said, I never used JOptionPane. For us, when I took 212, we just used a scanner. It's just simple. It's very simple. But anyway, JOptionPane, enter a string. Okay. So now what do we want to do? We want to JOptionPane rest dialog number of times 2 digits occur in a row. So now we want to loop through. So now we have a string. So that we got string input. Okay. So now we want to loop through. So let's keep track. Int count. Right, let's say 0. This is going to be the number of times 2 digits occur in a row. So you can name whatever you want. I just usually name it count because that's simple, but so now we want to loop through. So for int I is 0, I is less than input dot length. Once again, I just want to bring this up because see how I remember last time for the array length we didn't use the parentheses, but now we did because this is a string, so we have to use dot length method with parentheses. Okay, just want to bring that up, and then we do. Okay, so let's add this. So now we're going to do this. So once again, you can do this in multiple ways, but how I want to do it, how we could let's do it like this. If so, let's do input dot char at. Let's do -1. I'll show you guys why that's the case in a second. Char at I. So that's going to be. We'll do it like this. We can do it multiple ways, but this is not what I want to do. I want to keep it organized. See why. Let's do char x is equal to input dot char at I. And then y is equal to input dot char at I plus 1. Why are we doing this? So now we're storing the 2 characters into char variables. Because now what we could do is this. If and now he gives us a method here that we use as a hint, right? We have a method character.isDigit char c, and we could use that. If character.isDigit x and character.isDigit y, then what do we want? We want to increase the count variable by 1. Count plus plus. Okay. This is basically saying, so now we have char x. This is, let's have a test input. So let's use testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2. X is always going to be a letter. Let's use S, right? That's going to be X. Y is always going to be the next letter. That's why we go from 0 to less than input length -1. Because if we were to go to here, 2, this is X, then it will give us an error because there's nothing after X, so we can't have Y. That's why we end right before the last letter, so that's 1. This is the last X, and thus, this is the last Y. Okay? So that's why we use -1. And then once we do that, we store both of those characters in X and Y. And now we just check, is X a digit and Y a digit? If they're both digits, that means this is passed. So that's the number of 2 digits in a row. So that's good. Otherwise, it ignores it. Okay. And at the very end, we just want to do JOptionPane dot show. So this is going to be after the for loop. Let me just checks if both characters are digits. If they are, increase counter or count. Okay, at the very end, outside the for loop, we want to just use JOptionPane dot message dialog. So JOptionPane dot message dialog. No. And then there are count. What do we want to say? 2 digits happened. 2 digits happened. Count times. And there you go. That's your answer. Does anyone have any questions about this? Length minus 1 again? Okay, so because look here, because we're including input.char at I, and we're doing input.char at I plus 1, so this is current. This is the current char we're on. This is the next one. So message, good catch. So this is the current letter, and this is the next letter, right? So let's look here. If we were to go through, and then we hit the last letter here, which is in this instance 3, then it would also ask for the next letter. But this is the last letter, so this is X. So then what's going to be Y? Y is going to tell us the next letter. But then if it's asking for the next letter, there's nothing here. So that's why we're going to get an error. We're going to get an index out of bounds error. Index error. Right? So we're going to get the index out of bounds. Show input. Show message. That is good. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Show message dialog. Yes. Please correct me. I've never used this before. Yes, Kevin, that's pretty much why. Because we're going the current one and the next one. So that's why in order to get the next one, we also need to stop like the character right before the very last one. Dialogue. I think it's dialogue because that's what he says here. I don't know. I've never used show message. So if we get you won't get a 0 because you won't get a 0, but you're not gonna get full points because that -1, without the -1, then it's gonna give you an error. And in essence, if you were to like use this, it wouldn't work. But because it's written out, I wouldn't think it would take off too many points if you miss it. But yeah. I think someone else asked to go through this line by line, but so sure. So this is the main code. We have the input. This is JOptionPane.input dialog. We got an input, this is an input string. And now we declare a variable for the count. This is the number of times 2 digits occur in a row. All right. And then we want to loop through the input string. And here, like I said, you can do this different ways. Like if you want, you can do this entire thing in one line of code, but I like keeping it separate. So we have two variables. So we have X is the current character we're on, and Y is the very next character, right? How does that help us? Because now we can use the method that we're given, the hint, is if the current character we're on, if it's a digit, and the next character is also a digit, then both of them are digits, and we can increase our count by 1. Right? And at the very end, we just want to show the message, 2 digits that happened, count times. Okay? And that's the code. Not bad. I'm gonna read this. Does anyone have any questions about this? I think it's good. Everyone good with this one? All good, all good. Minus we'll do question 3. Sure, I will examine question 4. Sure. So everyone's good with this one, right? Because if everyone's good, I'm gonna give Mike a chance. Everyone's good. Thank you for thumbs up. Show for exam about JOptionPane J-frames. Pretty much just for input and output. So I think input, output, that's all you pretty much need to know for JOptionPane, I believe. But for now, I'm gonna give the mic to Mike. He'll take care of the rest of the review session. I'll still be here monitoring the chat, so don't feel too safe. But all right, thank you guys. I will send this PDF. I believe Mike will post them in the code for all server. If you do need to leave early, like Mike posted in the chat, please complete the feedback form. And yeah, I'll hand it over to Mike to complete the rest of the
Okay.
review session.
Yeah, so here you can join this Discord link. We will post our notes on this Discord. And then, okay. So the first question is, now you don't need to worry about JFrame. You only need to worry about JOptionPanes. We are not doing any GUI in this test. Okay. We won't have to know. Yes, you don't need to know JFrame, any JFrame. JFrame will not be on the test. Okay. Okay. So let me share the screen. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Oops. Can you see the screen? Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna chat. Okay, so what question do you guys want to go next?
Classes maybe?
That's of course, yes. Okay. Right. Let's do the class. Okay. Let's do this class. Okay, so write a Java program that will read a string using, oh no, that's a question 4. Okay, so write a class called book that contains the following information. So instance variable for the title, author, and price for the book, and a 3-argument constructor to set each of these instance variables above if the title or author is null, or the price is less than 0, throw an legal argument is the exception. Okay, so and then we need to write get and sub methods. Okay, let me create a file. Question file. Okay. All right, let's do public. Edit. Oh, there's no public server by minor. So question 4. Let's do a book.java. That is more clear. Okay. What kind of book is below? Yes, it cannot be below. So should be the non-variable. No. So why will I never need to test that? Okay. So we need to test when the value of the book is below 0 when we start to accept that value. Like there's no way we can have a book with like -$3 or -$20. So we need to start check as soon as we receive it from the user. But before that, let's declare 3 variable. So Okay, this is the string, title, and string author, and then the float price. Okay, and then we need to write a 3-argument constructor. Okay, so yes, that is one we throw an exception. Okay, so after we initial declare our variable, let's write an argument. Don't we have to be private? Yes, you can write private. It is better to write a private, but like we don't need it. Like yes, it is good to be private. Grammar mistake on syntax string author. Oh, thank you. AUTHOF. Alright, so let's start doing constructor. So constructor name, the name of the constructor need to be equal to the class name. So since the class name is book, public, book, and then we receive a 3 argument. So it will be string let's say T, and then string A, and then let's say float P. Okay, then we need to assign those values. So before you assign, we need to check. Okay, so let's check if so T is no
Alright,
if
thanks. My phone was about to fucking
question.
explode. Shit.
Do you have any question? Okay, I take that as a no. Okay, let's move on. So if, as you can see here, if the title or author is no, so if T is equal to no, okay, or A is equal to no, we gotta throw an exception. So throw a legal argument exception, and then we need to pass say title or author cannot be no. Oh yes, my bad. New legal argument exception, and then the semicolon. Since it's a string, why won't use dot equal? Good questions. So we are not comparing two string. We are comparing if we are asking if the string is null. So when you check if this is a null, you don't need to check with the using the dot equal. Okay. Okay. So and then we are going to check if p is less than 0.0 f. So since it is a float, you should add f at the end of the decimal. And then okay, so if it is less than 0, we throw new illegal argument exception. The price cannot be less than 0. Okay, good. Do we need to use float? Isn't it kinda absolute now? What do you mean? Can you clarify again? Don't quite understand. I mean, because like it is the float is given in the question. Yeah, double is better, way more better. But like since the question is given as a float, you're gonna use the float. If you use double, you won't get full credit for that. Okay. Yep. It's okay. What this as okay, so forget about these as I should not poke here because it will make you too many confusion. So wait a second. Okay. No. Okay. Let me do it here. You guys see this one, right? Give me 1 second. My s dot java. I don't want you guys to confuse. Okay, this is better. See? Yep. So it is because like as it appeared that because of the VS Code, like some of the extension in the VS Code. Okay. All right, this is clear. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so after we check, we need to assign those values. So title equal T, and then author 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 equal A, and then price equal P. And then this is an let's see, constructor. Okay, right? Yeah. Okay, this is another constructor. So we finish number 2. Okay. Any questions about this constructor? Okay. So why does the variable need to be private? So so the real reason for why we use private here is we don't want the user to access this class easily. So I'm not sure if you guys learn about these in the class, but like if we use private, the user cannot access like book.title. Okay. If we use the private, and then if the user call like book.title, you will get an error. You don't have any access to get the title. What lecture do you go for this? I am not sure about that. But like, okay, so if I don't include if I don't include the private, so let's say this is a public. If this is a public, the user can call and modify this, and we don't want it. That is why every time you see getter setter, which is like get and set methods, you should make those variable private. Okay, because the point of using the getter setter is we don't have access, and then we have access through the method. Would it be wrong if we put private? If we don't put okay. I'm not sure, but like you better put private. Okay. I don't think, yes, it might be one of the questions. Yes, because this question doesn't say anything, so maybe he won't take points. But okay, usually you gotta make those private. But like if the question should say private, you better put in the private. Okay, let's move on. Let's write getter setter. What is 0.0f? So 0.0f is the same as 0.0, but like we are using the float. Since we are using the float, every float number need to have f in the end. Okay, that is why we put the f. If you use double, we don't need f here. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the getter setter. So to get something from, you need to return. You don't need to return. And then let's see, get title. And then, okay, let me ask you guys what I should put in here to, sorry, my bad. Let's do set first. Okay, set is there's no return type, and then I want to set value from the user to the title. So what parameter should I put here? Yep, string t, or string input, or string title, anything. But like the catch is if you use titles, if you use t, you can just put title equal t. However, if you use title here, title, title, you cannot write like this. Okay, this is a bad code. Yes, you need this. Do you need to put this here, or do you need to put this over here on the left or right? Right. No, you need to put on the left side. So this means this class. So this title belongs to this class. That is why we put this to emphasize this title is from this class, and this title is from the outside. Okay, so you can write two ways, but then the one way is you can make the name different, and then you don't need to put this. I mean, even if you put this, it is still correct that you don't need to put. Okay, but before we set anything, we need to check something, right? What do we need to check? Every time you set value, if it's a null, right? So if the t is null, you need to throw over here. Yeah, it cannot be 0. I mean, it cannot be null. So the title cannot be null. You will lose point if we forget to check every time. Yes, you will lose point if you forget to check here. You need every set method should need to have should need to check every time you set the value. Otherwise, you will lose point. So the same thing as sub other or other string a if a is equal to null. Copy again. Here in the text, you cannot copy, you need to write everything down. So other and other equal a. Okay, right. And then we are setting price and then float. Let's say p. And then check again if p is less than 0.0f. And then we gotta throw the exception. These are the set method, correct? Yes, these are the set method. So set method is to set the value. Okay. Let's see, right? So why we need to write set method? We need to write set method to set the value from here. So the user can make an object, and then it can call this method as an object.method, and then you can set this value by passing the parameter. You have to throw argument here and in constructor. Yes. Okay. So these are the sub method. Some methods are done. Any question with that? Should we price p above the curly bracket? Shouldn't p equal above? I mean, you don't need, or you can put. It is okay, since like if you want to write a if statement or for loop, and your inner bracket or inner block has only one line, you don't need to put bracket. But if you are not sure, I suggest you put the bracket every time. So which means this line and then this line are same thing. like the in terms of syntax. Okay. All right. Let's move to get method. Okay. What is the return type of to get method for the title? What should be the return type? String. Or it should be string. Get title. Do you need to pass any parameter? No. Okay, great. And then you can return the title here. Okay. Let's say get author. Return author. And then the same as float. Get price. And then you can return the float. And return the you can return the price. All right, and then that's it. This is for the class. Any question?
I had one.
Okay. What is
Is
up?
putting public before all of those methods like important, or can you just say void and like string like that? It's fine.
I think for now it is fine, but like you can always put public. The reason is that these are on default, these are public. So you can either put public or you can just leave it like this. So because this will always be public. If you're not sure, if you want to make sure, you can always put public.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. No problem. So can you use return t, a, p? What do you mean? Do you want to return something? Do you want to return 3 values at the same time? I mean, instead of full name. Okay. If I put T here, is it still correct or is it wrong? Any idea? Should be good. No, it is wrong. Okay. Why? The reason is that I declare as a title here. Yes, that is correct. Because the variable t isn't defined. These are like a temporary name for the argument. So this doesn't account as this. You can use it here because this is in this block of code. Okay, this is from the outside of the code. Another reason is that, okay, why don't we put t here? The reason is that the question set you need to declare as a title. So yeah, in the test you need to write so many things, but like, and then you cannot copy and paste. So you need to write a little bit fast. Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, they set public by default because the class is public. Yes, these are by default public. So if you write public in every method, it should be stay good. Okay. Set title, set order, set price, etc. are their own receptive function. Yes. So in the C++, we call these as a function, but like we call it method, but like you can see this as a function. Yes, these are separate function in this class of book. Did I answer the question? Okay. Okay. Would the method be public by default just because the class is public? Correct. Yes, you can say that. Yes. If this is private, you cannot access all these functional methods. You cannot even make an object because it's a private. You cannot access anything. Okay, let's move on another problem. Question distance plus. Okay, is it this one? Is it question exam B? Question 3 is this one? Is it exam B? No, the other exam. Okay, this one. Okay, all right, let's go. Okay, let's break a new function. Let's do Java. Okay, wait, Java. Okay, so public. Yes, this recording will be posted. So public, what is the class is the distance. Public, yeah, stente, public distance. Okay. Oh, I forgot the class. All right, let's see. Write a distant class variable. Okay, private static integer call this one, and private static float call this one. Let's declare those first. Can you go over the other code line by line? You mean this one again? I think so since we are doing this, these two problems are very similar. So you will see I am doing the same thing again and again. Other than that, I need to put like 2 new methods. So you will also understand why watching this. Okay? Because of the time. Okay. So if I finish this one, I can go over the other one again. Okay, let's do this first. So let's declare private static PIC private static int or interest in Htut is equal to 12. Okay, private static and then there's a float all v in meter is equal to 0.30 or 8f. Okay. And then finish these two. Now you're going to initialize 2 instance variable, feet and inches. Okay. Private in feet, comma, inches. Okay. And then you need to create 2 constructor. Okay. So the same thing as before. How can I write no argument constructor? What is the title line? Public distance, correct? This should be PUB public distance without any argument. And then what do you need to do? You need to initialize the distance with 0 feet and 0 inches. So feet is equal to 0 and inches is equal to 0. That's it. This is no argument constructor. Okay, so we are done. So we are done these. So now, so we need to 2 argument constructor that will accept 2 positive integer. And for feet and for inches, an illegal argument exception is thrown if the number of inches is more than 11. You don't add why? Okay. So since this is a constructor, you don't need any return value. All you need is public and the name of the class. Okay, so let's write the 2 argument constructor. Is public distance with 2 arguments called int f comma int I. So whenever the question say insert variable, the variable has to be private. Okay. Yes, it is better to have a private for the instance variable. Okay, let's move on. So we need to check, first we need to check if the interest I is greater than 11. If it is, throw new legal argument exception, and then interest can be greater than 11. Is it an illegal argument past 11 inches because of it became full? Yes, correct. So every instance, it assumes you to do private. Yes, that is correct. So every time, if the question doesn't mention about, okay, you need to declare as a private, you always need to be private. Okay. 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 So yeah. Okay. Let's move on. So if okay, we are assigning the value here, so we check here, and then let's assign the values of fee equal f and interest equal I. All right. So this is a two argument constructor with accepting two positive value. Oh, okay. Since it sets two positive value integer, let's see, let me think. Do you need to check? Okay, but like in the exam, make sure when you have like two positive integer, and then you need to make a legal argument exception, you should be included. But like it doesn't say here, so I assume that you don't need it. Okay, and then get a set of method as the same as previous. Okay, let's write the get method. So what is the return type and the title name should be? For the get method, since you get something, it need to be in the in get the, and then you get, so you return the fee. Okay, the same as previous. And then when you want to get the interest, you return the interest. So this is for the get method. The method has a return type. It depends on the variable name, and then you need to return that value. For the set method, every set method is return y, and set p. You need to pass the argument in f, and then you set the value p equal f. Okay, but like to make sure, okay, so if you put more and it stay correct, you won't lose point. So let me make sure, because like it's a two positive integer. Let me put f cannot be, if it is less than 0, throw new illegal argument exception. It can't be negative. Okay, and then for the interest, set interest, we get I, and then the same as here, copy here, and then we can copy this line of code to check if it is less than 0. inches cannot be negative, and then you assign the negative. I mean, you assign the inches. Any question with these? Any confusion? Any question? Nope. Okay. Is my voice okay? Is it too low?
No, you're pretty clear.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to the interesting part. So we need to write a method. So public method. So clearly it is public, and a method add another distant object to itself. Okay. So if you have two objects, when you call this, will become this number. Okay. So let's think about return type. What do you think the return type should be? Int. Okay. Any distant? Okay. Void. Okay, we have pretty diverse. Okay. And the answer is it doesn't say anything to return. So you don't need to return anything. And another point is since it doesn't need to be returned, it is a void. And then another thing that you can see is you can see this comment. When you add two things, W1 become 8 feet and 3 inches. Okay, so W1 is 4 feet and 9 inches. W2 is 3 feet and 6 inches. When you add, W1 become bigger. Okay. So you don't need to return anything. So the thing is you need to add the other distance to the existing distance. Okay, so since you don't need to return anything, it will be void. But you need to read the question clearly. And sometimes this example would help you to clarify. Okay, so it will be void, and the method name is add. So you need to have a parameter. Okay, so let's see W2. What is the data type of W2? Distant, correct? So since the data type of the distant is W2, or the class name is distant, let's distant. Let's say let's use other. Okay. Okay. So when you add this feet, and the other feet, and this feet and the other inches. Okay. So let's add first. So let's write this feet, or you don't need to include, or you can include this. It doesn't matter. I put in this to be made clear. So other dot feet. Okay. And then the thing as this inches equal other dot inches. Okay. And round. So you need to add feet and inches. So it need to be feet plus, and then this dot inches plus the other inches. So you add the feet, go into this feet, add the inches, go into the inches. Can you do feet plus other feet? Yes, you can. Yes, you can do. You can also do like this. Okay. So this is the same as this one. Okay. since the plus equal is the same as this line, you can also add with this. This would be considered as a mutator function. Okay. I don't know the mutator. Yeah. Yes, this is, you can call this. But when you put the inches go over 12, it adds to the feet in Azamba. Yes. Since we are modifying the data. Mutator function. Okay, yes. Yes, correct. Okay. Okay, yes. So when you add this is not the end of the answer. So we need to do something. Since the inches can be, let's write here, inches can be greater than 12. We need to solve that. So we want to add this dot c. Let's use this. Oh no, let's not use this. This dot c plus. Let's say the inches is 15. Okay. So how can you add? This is more than 1 feet. So how can you get the feet value? And then we're going to add this here. So you want to think like the example is you want to change the inches to feet. It is mod by, okay, so if you mod by 12, okay, let's write here, inches mod by 12. So if you mod this, you will get the remaining inches. If you divide by 12, you will get the feet. Okay, yes, 12 is equal to 1 feet. So, yeah, so since it can be, let's say it can be 30. So if you subtract, it will be like you need to keep subtracting, which is the same as dividing. To keep subtracting mean you need to divide. So instead of like subtracting, you divide the value. So can we do feet plus other feet plus yes, that is correct. And then I think you don't need parentheses. You can put it like it doesn't matter. Feet plus wait. I see what you mean. So Nor, your code, if you write like that, your code need to be put here. Okay? Because you are adding at the same time. Would if 12 inches is greater than 12 plus 1 just minus 12. Would this work? Okay, if I ask you what if the inches is 50? Can you do only one time? Can you do only one time of like inches can be at most 22? No, it can be anything. It can be more than 22. But with your code, it can only be 22, more at most. So we don't want that. We want every inches. Okay. So instead of doing that, if you write if, so what I would do is I would change if to while. As long as inches less than 12, you keep subtracting, you keep adding. That is correct. You need to use while. Okay, that is also correct answer. All right, let's move on. So we are getting the feet from the inches. So you divide by 12. So this is from this dot inches. Okay. And then for the remaining inches, you add to here. And this time, you need to mod by 12. Okay, that's right here. It's right here. Is it clear? Well, yeah, it's just at most 11. Yes. So this is my answer, but like this answer can be written as like many ways. Like yeah, in the chat you can see if this is less than 12, I would change y as long as this is less than or equal 12. You keep add to the feet and you keep subtract from the inches. That is the correct one. Or you can also, if you don't want to do this, you can also put it in here. But like you need to add the inches first if you want to put here. Or other way, there are many ways to do it. Okay, any question about this add method? Okay, one of my mistake is here. Sorry, I don't need to add the inches. I just need to mod 12. This is calling back to the previous section. No. This doesn't call anything. So it reference to this class of the variable. So this refer to, so I put this to emphasize we are using this feed. Okay, but you don't need to add this. It is not required. It's optional, but I want to see more clearly. Okay. Okay. Couldn't we just convert the feet into inches, get the total, then convert it back to feet and inches? That is also a good solution. You can also write that code. That is also correct. There is like no so this can be okay. This has many solution. Okay. There is no like one correct solution. There is no way. Okay. As long as you're correct, converting like as long as you're correct, you'll get full point, full credit. Okay. Let me quickly do this since we are out of time. So let's see. So public. So you need to return as a float. So public float metric distance. Okay. So so a method metric distance will return a float numbers of meters in distance represented by the object. So you want to convert this. Okay, you want to convert these to the matrix. Okay, so let's just return. Do we need if function there? I mean, return. Yes, this will be the last practice question. Okay. So don't we need a if function? You can have, yes, but like you don't need it because like if this is like, let's say if this is 5, if you divide, you will get 0. So it doesn't change anything. Okay, that's why we don't need it, but like if you put it, you will still get full credit. Okay. All right. So for matrix, I think so. This is very confusing line. Okay, this is very confusing line. Yeah. So before that, before you leave, please fill the feedback file. Okay, so may just sign it. Okay, let's go back. This is very confusing. Okay. It makes me some headache because this is so let's touch up 1 meter in feet. I think he will give a correct answer. So 1 feet in meter. Okay. Yeah. So this is 1 feet, 1 foot. Sorry, 1 foot is equal to 0.3048 f. Okay. Meter. Let's don't do f. Okay. So when you read this, like he will give more clear declaration in the text, but like this is this. So 1 foot is this meter, and then before you do it, so let's convert feet. Let's just do this. So feet plus, let's convert inches to feet. How can we convert inches to feet? you can convert inches to feet by dividing inches by 12. Okay, so since we have this, okay, you can also use this here instead of using 12. Okay, so you keep that. You can divide with that, which is 12. So this will give you a float value. No, this won't give you float value. So to be able to get float value, I would suggest multiply this with 1.0. Okay. Let's just use 12. Okay. Let's just make clear. You should multiply 12.0. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Why we use 12.0 instead of 12?
Because it's a float, so it needs
Yeah,
to
because
It's a float.
correct. Because if you use integer, you will get like integer. So you will get feet here. Okay. When you solve this, you will get feet value here. So to change to the meter, 1 foot is this amount. This foot is what amount? So you need to multiply with this value, which is feet in meter. Feet in meter. Okay. You can write this as a 12.0, or you can use this and multiply by 1.0. These two are the same. More float. Yes, you can also use float to change it and convert it. It is also correct. Do we need the F after the 12.0? 12.0. Oh yeah. Yes. This need to be 12.0. That is correct. Okay. Do you need an F at the end? Yes, you will need an F at the end. That is correct. Yes. Like that. Can you do feet plus inches divided by 12? If you do, yeah, these can be done in multiple ways. If you do this, this will not be correct because if when you divide it, you will not get any float value. You will only get 0. So you won't get any correct solution. Okay. All right. Any last minute question? Would it be divided by? No. You don't need. You cannot divide because like we need to multiply. Okay. Because this is technically this is wrong. It should be something like other number here. Okay. So to clarify that, I search it up, put it here. Okay. Are there any more practice question we can do? I think you guys have these two practice questions. The tests are very similar from these two practice as long as you can. Oh, okay. As long as you can do these two practice questions, you are good for the test. No overtime, no. Yeah. So this will be our last problem. Okay. Yes. Which two question? No, not two questions. These two review sheet. I mean, sorry, not two questions. My bad. There will be 4 questions in the test. Okay, and these two sheet. Okay. Yes, 25 each. No, sometime, 20, sometimes some question can be 30, sometime, but like most of the time it can be 25. Yes. All right. So yeah, definitely this looks easy. Yeah, Lord tests are all the time. Lord test is very easy. Like this full review sheet. Okay, so yep, this will be our last problem. So thank you very much for coming. And before that, please fill out the feedback form before you leave. Oops. I'm still sharing the screen. Okay. Can you show book door? Okay. Yeah. Yep. Please share the feedback file in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good luck in the test. I will post that note in the Code for All server. Okay. Good luck, everyone, for the test.
Wait, should we stop the recording? I think we're good.
Oh yeah.